If you remember Tom Hanks' movie Cast Away, there was a scene in it where he was marking the position of the sun on a rock in a cave each day. And over time, that position drew the shape of a figure eight. I got curious about that, and that shape is called an analemma. And I decided I wanted to recreate that experiment on my own. But rather than go live on a deserted island for several years, I figured it'd be easier just to put a Raspberry Pi and a camera in a window and let it take pictures of the sun each day. Easier and cheaper. So I decided to build an experiment to take a picture each day and save it and then recreate that same shape. Now, before I show you what I did, I want to preface it with the warning to say I'm not an astronomer. I'm not even an amateur astronomer. I'll probably get a lot of stuff wrong. If I do, feel free to correct me in the comments. No worries. The hardware I put together was really simple. It was just a MDF box and some 3D printed brackets and a Raspberry Pi and Raspberry Pi camera. It also had a Wi-Fi dongle, USB adapter, that sort of thing. Now, the one kind of fancy thing I did, I wanted to take multiple pictures each day, some with the sun in view and some with the sun not in view. The pictures with the sun not in view were going to be used as backgrounds. But the thing about the Raspberry Pi camera is that if you point it directly at the sun, it's going to burn out pretty quickly. It's not made to take that sort of bright image. So for the sun pictures, I had to put solar film in front of it. You can buy solar film from Amazon pretty cheap. And what I did, I used that servo motor and I put an arm on it that had the solar film. And for the sun pictures, the solar film was in front of the camera lens. And for the background pictures, the solar film was out of the way. Now, bad thing is that that solar film added some distortion to the pictures, and you'll see that in the images I'm going to show you in just a little bit. For this project to be successful, the two most important requirements were one, to have a clear unobstructed view of the sky, and two, to have a location where it could sit for several years without anybody bumping into it or moving it. Ideally, I could put it into a south-facing window, but the south-facing windows in my house are either obscured by trees or in high traffic areas. But there was an east-facing window that fit the bill. It was in a sort of small closet, and nobody would go in there and bump it and move it around. So this worked out pretty well. So now I'm going to show you some of the pictures that came out of it prior to processing. Here are some examples of images I took that I count as good images, meaning that the sky was clear and that the sun was very easily distinguished from the rest of the image. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is there is quite a bit of distortion in some of these images. That came from the solar film, like I mentioned earlier, or possibly, I'm not sure about this, the Raspberry Pi camera may be going bad. And kind of looks like the Eye of Sauron, and it's been getting worse over time. But in either case, the sun is a very bright disk. It's very easy to write some Python code using OpenCV to find the center of that disk and write the coordinates to a text file that I can then use to put onto another image later. Next is the moment that made this whole effort all worthwhile. I'm going to show you the animation of all the sun's positions over the past 8.5 years. I'm going to start this and then I'm going to pause it for just a moment and talk about what you're seeing. This is starting in December of 2017. I draw a green dot at the center of the sun's disk, at least for the days where I get good image data. And since it started in December 2017, you come around to 2018. This moves on up to about June of 2018. And you can see gaps in here. This is places where either the weather interfered with getting a good picture or the Raspberry Pi, had some sort of glitch or got flaky. Right? Now I'm going to go ahead and hit play, and it's going to keep going around about 8.5 times, and it will fill in some of the missing data. You'll see the figure eight, the analemma that I was talking about. And I think this is really cool to see the astronomical phenomenon in action, visualizing it. Here's an image of the analemma over the entire 8-year time frame with labels marking key calendar dates and where they appear, where they line up in that figure. You can see that the December solstice is at the bottom of the figure eight, the June solstice is at the top, and the March and September equinoxes are where the figure eight crosses. And you've probably heard the term solstice and equinox and have some idea of what those mean. But for me, being able to associate those events with positions on this figure uh, makes it a little easier to grasp. Maybe it will for you too. I hope you found this useful. And if so, you know how to do all that YouTube stuff about liking and sharing. I also hope that you get inspired to build a home experiment of your own to satisfy your own curiosity. Because any day that you can learn something new is a good day. Anyway, I hope you do have a good day. We'll talk again soon.